For our next lesson, we're going to learn how to utilize the Word app. Specifically in this lesson, we are going to talk about the check-in and check-out functionality, activation codes, opening the main document, how to edit in the Word app, and then how to search for contracts in the Word app. First, something that's important to note is the check-in and check-out functionality in the Contracts Plus solution. The little lock icon tells us when the contract is checked out, and you may or may not have noticed this when we were just in the solution. If you have it checked out, it will say checked out to you, just like this screenshot, but if someone else has it checked out, their username would appear here. The checkout feature ensures that only one person can make edits at a time, so if a contract is checked out to somebody else, you won't be able to make any edits to it, whether you're in the Word app or within Contracts Plus. It's like a library book, where you check it out, only you have it, and then once you check it back in, it's available to be taken by someone else. Activation codes are what connects Microsoft Word and the Contracts Plus solution. A few things to know. The code is required to log into the Word app because it's what allows the Word app and Contracts Plus to communicate, but you only have to enter the activation code once. You can have one code per device. So know that you can have multiple devices, but each device needs its own code. Passwords may be configured as optional in your organization, or you may have to enter one every time. It just depends on what your system administrator has decided. Similarly, the activation codes can be named by a system administrator so that they're easily distinguishable, or end users can generate their own. Again, just depends on what your organization decides. Let's talk about the process for using the Word app. This would be when you want to actually download your main document and see or edit the contract language within it. When you select the button Open Main Document, it's going to download somewhere in your browser, and you would click it to open the main document in Microsoft Word. You may have to select Enable Editing when Microsoft Word opens. You can also download the main document by selecting the hyperlink on the attachment screen. If it's your first time using the Word app on this device, you would enter your activation code. And then after entering the code, you would be prompted to confirm your username. It's going to just ask you this each subsequent time that you access the Word app. The password can be configured as not required. So in my screenshot, I'm not required to enter a password here, but if it is required in your organization, you would see a prompt to enter that at this point. Once you're logged in and activated, you'll see the solution content on the right-hand side. We're going to go into Contracts Plus and we are going to generate our activation code, and we're going to log into the Word app to add a new paragraph, delete some content, and do some modifications. We'll also pay specific attention to the checkout and check-in functionality within the Word app. The first thing we're going to do within the solution is open the main document. The Word app does work with other attachments too, but we're going to be practicing today with our main document. We have two ways to do this. We can go to the sticker on the left-hand side and click the Open Main Document button, or I can go back to my attachment screen and download the main document from here. Depending on what browser you are using, you may see your main document download in a different place, but I'm using Chrome, so it's downloading in the bottom left-hand corner. Once it's complete, I'm going to click the file to open it in Word. When the file opens, make sure to click Enable Editing if you're prompted to. Once Microsoft Word is open, the Word app will automatically open on the right-hand side. If for some reason your Word app doesn't automatically open on the right-hand side, you can go to Insert, My Apps, and you should be able to select it from here. Now I'm prompted to enter my activation code. Let me jump back into the solution and show you where to find that. I'm going to navigate away from my contract for a moment and go to my user profile, which can be found in the user icon area up here. I am Grace Appleton today, and I'm going to view my profile, go to App Activation Codes, Add Device, and in this case we want to add a Microsoft Word device. I'll give it a name. And I don't have to email it to myself because when I click Add Device, it's going to pull that up right here. And what I like to do is just copy this and then go back into Microsoft Word, paste it, and activate. This is where it's going to ask me to confirm my identity. I'll go ahead and continue. If your organization requires a password, it would say that here. And now we're logged in and we've got the Word app information on the right-hand side. So I can insert placeholders, I can view approved clauses that I can insert into my contract, and I can also view more information about the contract here, like which version we're on, if this is the main document, what currency we're using, and other information there. The contract is automatically checked out to me because I created it, so notice that we have the option to check it back in, or we could discard the checkout if we didn't need to make any changes after all. We'll come back to that in a little bit. So on the left-hand side, you'll notice it's all of our standard Microsoft Word functionality. I could add a sentence. I could add an entire item. I can delete information. It's just regular Microsoft Word. Notice at the top, I also have features like comments, text boxes, quick parts. If I go to review, I can track changes, accept or reject changes, all of those things that we're familiar with. I also just want to point out the placeholders options. So if there is something that we want to enter here, like the first party name, I can go ahead and insert that here and it populates with the data that's on the contract header. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that placeholder by grabbing it and clicking delete on my keyboard, but know that the placeholders are there and available for you to use as well. We also have help that is specific to the Word app. It can be found by clicking the three little dots at the bottom right of the app, and it opens a menu, and in that menu is PDF help. That help is maintained by JAGGAER with every release, so it's current and up to date, and it's the same information that can be found in the online searchable help. It's just specific to the Word app so that you don't have to be bouncing back and forth between the solution and Microsoft Word. Once I'm satisfied with my changes, I can check in the contract. This takes all the changes I've made and sends them back into Contracts Plus, generating a new version of the document. I can write a note before checking it in, and this is considered best practice because it indicates the changes I've made, and that comment is stored in the version history of the contract. Checking in contracts saves the changes in Contracts Plus, so it's important to make sure to check them in. Once you check in your contract, it makes the Search Contracts bar available within the Word app. Here's where I can search for other contracts to pull up. There are a couple things to know about searching for contracts within the Word app. The only contracts that I can see here in the Word app are those that are editable and visible to the user. Let me clarify what this means. By editable, I mean that we don't want to be able to just open a fully executed contract that's already been approved and start making edits to it in Word. So rather than having those contracts appear and you think maybe you're successfully editing it, they're just hidden from the search results. So if you're ever looking for a contract and you can't find it, remember that it has to be in an editable status to appear here. By be visible to the user logged in, I mean that you can only see contracts that you have access to see. So this screenshot says that there are 93 contracts. There might actually be hundreds and hundreds of contracts in the system, but my user only has visibility on 93 of them, maybe because of the role that I'm in or the work group to which I'm assigned, so just be aware of that. Also notice the lock icon. That means that the contract is checked out. You can hover over the lock to see who has it checked out. We're going to go back into the Word app and explore some common features that you might use. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but it includes tracking changes, using the document compare, and taking a quick look at our PDF help file. We'll also conduct a quick search from the Word app and learn how to close out of the document. I know I touched on this a little bit earlier, but we have all of the expected Microsoft Word functionality, spell check, thesaurus, word count, all that information, including track changes. There's also the Microsoft Word document compare functionality. Keep in mind we have the compare feature within Contracts Plus, but if you are in Microsoft Word and don't want to toggle back and forth, that's available here. For your convenience, we've also organized the tools that we think are the most frequently used under a JAGGAER ribbon. To install and configure the Jagger ribbon on your device, you can see the end user demo video in Jagger University that's called Installing the Word Ribbon. It's not required, there's no new functionality here. It just takes all of the commonly used Microsoft Word features and kind of lumps them in just one ribbon so that if you're not as comfortable with the navigation of Microsoft Word, you don't have to toggle through all of these ribbons to find the function that you're looking for. I just want to point out where that PDF file can be found. We've got these three little dots at the bottom right, PDF, and that pulls up this information here. So I've got all the information about the Word app. Again, this is kept up to date by Jagger, and so you can trust that it is accurate and up to date. Whenever I have finished making changes to the contract, I can go ahead and click the Check In button. Now I know we didn't make too many changes here today, but we're going to go ahead and check it in. It's going to ask me what changes I made, and I'm going to make sure to insert a comment here. I'll just keep it kind of generic for today, but it's a best practice to include a comment here so that it can be stored in the version history of the main document. I can go ahead and select that I want to keep this contract checked out to me after I click OK, and what that's going to do is it's going to save the changes, send them into Contracts Plus, but I'll still be the person who has the contract checked out. In this instance, I'm going to go ahead and just fully check it in, so I'll click OK. And now I can see that the contract has successfully been checked in. You may recall that we originally had version 3, and now we're on version 4 of this contract. If I click the Contracts tab, now that I've checked in my contract, I see that I have this search bar available. To run a search for a contract here in the Word app, I kind of need to know exactly what I'm looking for. We don't really have any filtering options here. It's helpful if you maybe know the contract number or the contract name. It's going to show up in a list, and just keep in mind that only the contracts that are editable and visible to you are going to show up here. So if I ran a search for a contract, what I could do is view some information about it, and I could check it out and actually open that contract right from here. Whenever you're finished using the Word app and you want to close it out, Microsoft Word is going to ask you if you want to save your document. You don't have to save it as long as you've checked it in, because the contract is going to be saved there within the Contracts Plus solution. Clicking Save for Microsoft Word would be saving a local copy to your computer, which by all means you are welcome to do, but it's not required to save once you've checked it into Contracts Plus.